Good afternoon, everybody. It is time for a little consumer catch-up. My name is Steve Noviello. I'm the consumer reporter at the Fox television station in Dallas, Texas. I want to introduce you to my new friend and colleague, Heather Sullivan, at our sister station in Houston. Hi there.
Hi, good afternoon. It's so great to be with you. And we're very excited that we're going to be talking about so many things that we hope will be helping people. We know so many people are kind of in crisis right now. Still, here we are more than 3 weeks later. So we're really glad that we're getting an opportunity to try and give you our knowledge that we have been picking from all the experts to try and help people get through this.
You know, it's been an interesting time. I think that so for folks who are not familiar with Heather, perhaps you're watching from Dallas and saying, well, who is this woman? She's me at our Houston station, and I'm you in Dallas. I mean, for lack of a better. So we decided it's time to kind of combine forces here to see if we can't help make a difference for folks. So I have to ask you, it's COVID caution. So you're in your home studio, I would imagine.
Yeah, well, this is also known as my living room, but the couch is shoved up against the wall. It never gets sat on. This is my little TV studio. And Steve and I were chatting before we came on that I have a cat. His name is Phineas Benny. He's orange. He's taking a nap right now. He might pop out because whenever he's hungry, he pops out. But he's been making lots and lots of appearances there on the mantle with me. So if you're ever catching any of my segments online, you'll see this little orange kitty hitting me in the head, throwing things at me. He keeps it interesting.
Perfect. So it's kind of been a crazy time. Look, one of the nice things about crisis, if there is a silver lining, and by the way, this crisis seems to have started, over a year ago, and it has just been one thing after the next, is that it really is an opportunity for folks like you and me to be of service to the greater community. I mean, what has your experience been during all of this? People are so hungry for information.
They really are. And they're very appreciative too. But yeah, I mean, the notes, I can't keep up, and I'm sure it's the same for you. You can't keep up with the volume of notes that we're getting from people. But the good thing is there's usually similar issues. And so we can take one or two people, talk about what's happening, go find the experts that have the answers into those questions, put that together, and hopefully help to answer questions and offer more resources, on a broad scope. But it's been overwhelming. It's been heartbreaking. It's been inspirational for me too. I will say I've talked to like a lot of single moms, single parents that are trying to survive all of this and keep it together and not let their kids see that they're facing eviction or, that they can't get the repairs made in their apartment or what have you. So I've met a lot of people that, my heart goes out to trying to help. But also I've been so amazed at the resilience of people, especially here in Houston.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and again, a lot of these folks barely recovered from Harvey, and now we've got this next. So the point of us coming to you all today is to arm you with one particularly crucial thing, and that is correct information. I mean, these days, folks like Heather and I compete with everybody who has internet access and a smartphone when it comes to getting out the word to folks. And we want to make sure that you are armed with the right information to get you the right resources. So Heather, I know you have been talking a lot about FEMA and how they are helping folks all across the country, particularly, of course, here in Texas.
Yeah, that's right. So you can apply for FEMA assistance if you had damage from your pipes bursting or, whatever happened to you that caused damage to your home during the winter storm. But of course, we immediately started hearing from consumers who were applying. And like you were saying, everybody's got a cell phone, so they're applying really quick. And they were getting denials or what they called, a declining letter, within a day or two. And so I went right to FEMA and I said, these people need help. Their homes are in complete disarray. Some of them aren't even livable. And they're like, why am I getting denied like this so quickly? So FEMA sat down with me and talked a little bit about really what the procedure is. And they want you to know that just because you get that first denial letter, that's really just the beginning of the process. We know it's frustrating, but there are more steps that you can take. And they say one of the most common reasons that denial will happen is they just need more information. And let me point out too, the FEMA applications this time are being done virtually. So they really need pictures. They need video. And I've even talked to some people who it's like a Zoom call. I don't know if they're using Zoom, but whatever the technology is,
Sure.
and they want you to show, here's the damage or whatever. So one, people really need to be prepared to make the case visually. And I know you're kind of trying to do it quickly, but if you're not giving them enough information, then that may lead to that denial. You need to really show them, here's everything that's broken. Here's the leak. This is the water that's not working. Here's how much water's on the floor. Here's how damaged everything is. So plan to do that. But they say, sometimes they just need simple information from folks. Maybe it's a social security number, how many people are living in your home. You need to show proof that it is your address, just some of those backup documents. And so I've actually been finding some agencies at Money Management International, which is a nonprofit credit counseling agency, Lone Star Legal Aid, the legal aid organizations. They're helping people with applications to make sure that you're crossing the T's and dotting the I's and getting all that information in there. And I can tell you, Steve, there's what may be discouraging to some people, but what FEMA told me about sort of the process too is, so let's say you do get your denial, one, read it, see what other information you can provide them, because they'll tell you what they need from you. You can appeal that, which I think is probably a good way to go. Go ahead, sort of do a more formalized appeal with more information. They also encourage you to go ahead and apply for a loan through the SBA. And some of the denial letters will even say that. And that has some people frustrated. But the reason FEMA wants you to do that, and I know you're probably thinking, well, that's a business loan.
Sure.
But yeah, right. So, but in this case, FEMA is offering its loans through the SBA. So the SBA is administering these loans. So the loans are for businesses, but they're also for homeowners and they're also for renters. So it can be money that can help you. And you'll remember, as a renter, you're not going to get money to repair the structure of the home, but you can get money to replace your
contents, right?
Yeah, your contents that have been damaged. So they want people to go ahead and apply. If they direct you to apply, they want you to apply, because if you're not able to qualify financially for that loan, it kicks you back over to FEMA, and they have emergency assistance. So it's kind of going through these denials is kind of the way of getting to the next level of aid. And you're going to give them more of your financial information when you apply for that. And that's what they're needing from FEMA.
It's kind of a crazy situation. What you're talking about, the process, reminds me of the Texas Workforce Commission when COVID happened. And I'm sure you covered the story, where they said, go ahead and apply. We're going to deny you, but that just means we need more information. And the letter that they would send out was just a denial. So there were all of these people that were like, well, I got denied. What does that even look like? So I guess at least the silver lining here is that in this case, FEMA is saying, look, you're going to get denied. Here's why you're going to get denied. And here's what the next step then looks like for you. We're getting a couple of questions from folks that are in the chat room here. This one is from Daryl Patrick. Can I get FEMA aid if I do not have renter's insurance? My furniture entertainment center was wrecked by the water. Kind of two different issues here, but go ahead and take a look.
Yeah, in fact, you are exactly why FEMA is here. They hope that you do have renter's insurance, and we need to point out that you need to apply for your renter's insurance or your homeowner's insurance first, because you're going to have to show them the documentation. One, if your insurance company has denied your claim, or two, if what they're giving you isn't enough to make that repair, then you're going to be applying to FEMA to sort of, make up the rest of it. So yes, you absolutely can. And so the fact that you don't have renter's insurance saves you that step. But you want to go ahead, again, be sure just to document everything, show pictures. If you have receipts for valuables that, been damaged or whatever, the more you can show them, the better your case is going to be. And while we're on the topic of the amount of money, one of the things that FEMA wanted me to emphasize to people so that you understand is that FEMA is really about kind of getting you back on your feet, not really about, making your home as it was before the storm. So I asked that question. If we can we go ahead and play our little clip from the FEMA spokesperson, Mr. Pickering, talking about what you need to understand about, because people were disappointed that they didn't get bigger sums of money. Here's why.
That's usually what happens in these situations where someone receives less than they expect. They're thinking that they're going to get enough to cover whatever damage they have. We can repair your home to the state that it is functional, safe, livable, but we can't. We're not supposed to put it back the way it was. That's what insurance is for.
Is it playing?
Yeah. So really, two different. It just did. So two different issues there for folks. So is there a kind of a delineation here between, okay, is FEMA, because I'm sure people will ask this, is FEMA there to replace my stuff, or are they there to fix the building? Or both?
They're both. Yeah. I mean, because like, especially in Houston, like, the number of people who are renters is vast. So they're here to help people get back on their feet, whatever you are, whether you're the homeowner and you live in your home, or whether you're the property owner and you rent it, or whether you are the renter. They are here to help you sort of, get back to being in safe and livable conditions. That's their objective.
Yeah.
So that's why they want to hear from anybody who, like, you don't have insurance or the insurance is not covering it. Go ahead and apply. And they'll they've got other things to help too with, maybe you just need, coverage for some food, or some other emergency kinds of things. The list is kind of extensive of the types of things that they'll cover. So it's not just about, you have to be a homeowner, you have to own the property, because if you're in a place and the pipes burst, we know all your stuff got soaking wet.
Sure.
A
couple of quick follow-up questions here that I think people might have. So one, this is all virtual, it's all online. How is COVID affecting this? I mean, so if I'm displaced, maybe I don't have internet access. Are there centers I can go to? Can I go to the public library to hop on the internet to do this? What do you suggest for people like that?
That is an option. One of our Harris County commissioners, Adrian Garcia, actually, this is great. He did 4 of them, and I think he's going to keep doing it in precinct 2. But he opened up computer centers. So if you didn't have, and we went, and they did it in English and Spanish. And so we went and one of his staff, translated for us that the couple had, pretty vast damage to their mobile home, didn't have internet access, really had no experience using the internet or doing something like this. So they have people there to walk you through the process, to answer questions, to make sure that you're putting in all the information that you need. And if you don't have a cell phone, just, if you know someone who does, have them take those pictures, and then, you just need to, they'll help you upload them. So be sure and check wherever you're watching this with some of your local leaders, because they may be arranging some of these opportunities for you to go for free and make the application with computers that they can provide for you.
Follow-up question from Kathy Markser. Can you file both through your insurance and through FEMA, or just one?
You want to actually do both. You want to apply for your insurance first, because again, FEMA wants to see if you are insured, how much they're going to cover. If they deny, they need to see the denial letter, or how much they're going to cover. You might get a response back that you have to use your deductible to cover it. Mm-hmm. But that's information you can take to FEMA. So once you get your response in writing from the insurance company, then go ahead and apply for FEMA. And they say, yes, absolutely, apply for both. Because again, there are other things that maybe insurance won't help you with. Maybe you didn't have the food coverage or something for the food that you lost in the power outage, and maybe FEMA can help you with that.
One of the other tips that I'll give folks, and this is, look, if you've had damage or not, particularly if you haven't, we do this every year in our house. We do a home inventory in January after the holidays. Chances are there are some new shiny things in your house. Grab your cell phone, go around room to room and just take a video of everything, because when you're sitting there in that state of like emotional duress, right, trying to remember what things looked like before the insulation came falling through the wet ceiling, right, it's nice to have some sort of ability to say, hey, here's what my place looked like before this happened. And I think it makes the process easier. And we recommend it all the time. And I know people hear us. I also know they don't do it, but
Yeah.
it takes like 5 minutes. So
yeah, and you know, the one silver lining that I think came from this incident is hurricane season is around the corner. And so it's getting people to start thinking, what do I need to do to get ready for the next crisis? You know, what kind of emergency supplies can I get? You know, flashlights, things like that, doing that inventory. So whatever you just learned that you were not prepared for this, now you know.
Right, do it again. All right, I want to switch gears here so that I can catch you up on what we're working on here in Dallas. And I'll actually go to this question right here from Big Perm 53216. What rights
I want to see the Big Perm. She doesn't have a picture.
Where's your picture? Like, of all people that need a photo for their avatar here. What rights do I have to force my landlord to fix my walls damaged by water from the big freeze? Okay, so one of the big issues that we're having here in Dallas, I'm sure you guys are having it down in Houston as well, is all of the storm damage and people that are being displaced from their homes and trying to figure out, okay, what are my rights here as a renter? You know, do I have to pay the rent? Will I get my security deposit back? Can I break my lease? Are they obligated to move me? And one of the issues that we had here was that we were starting to hear, and again, this is all about correct information, we were starting to hear, oh, well, this city has an ordinance that protects you extra, or this one, you know, has to do this. And because there was really no set standard in terms of how some of these apartment complexes were treating their tenants, some of them were saying, look, we're a huge company. We have 500 buildings across the state. We will move you across town into a property that hasn't been damaged. And people get the idea of, oh, well, my landlord is required to move me if the building that they own is no longer, you know, suitable or habitable. And in fact, that's actually not the case. You know, so for folks who are watching, who are thinking, okay, there's no floor, there's no ceiling, the pipes have burst, you know, what am I supposed to do? Unfortunately, for a lot of you, there's really no easy answer here. One of the things that we've been talking a lot about is this idea of the Texas property code that says you have the right to terminate your lease, but only under special conditions. I want to play you a soundbite from Legal Aid of North Texas.
The short answer is yes. Your rent is still due. The landlord is not required to give an automatic reduction or proration of the rent because repairs are necessary or the lack of utilities. The longer answer is that if, as a practical matter, the dwelling is no longer habitable, the tenant does have the right, or the landlord, either one, has the right to terminate the lease.
So a lot of information in here. So first up, the question we were getting from our viewers a lot that they wanted to know is, look, there's no hot water, there's no water at all. You are not providing me with a space where I can live. Shouldn't I be entitled to some sort of reduction in my rent? And the short answer, like you heard, is no, there's actually nothing that triggers some sort of automatic proration of your rent. Now, what the law says, and we're referencing Texas Property Code 92.054, and if you are somebody who's interested
That's
here,
impressive.
yeah, if you're interested in this specific topic because you find yourself in this situation, it's worth a read, and I'll post in the comments here. And essentially, what it says, if there is a casualty loss on the property that is no fault of yours or any of your guests or the landlord, that both the landlord and the tenant have the right to terminate the lease if repairs are not made in a reasonable time. Here's the interesting part. What we're finding is that the definition of reasonable time is very fluid based on what is going on, right? So reasonable in May, when there's not been a storm and there's not COVID and there's no shortage of lumber, of PVC pipe, of copper, of tradesmen, maybe 72 hours. But take a listen to this soundbite and you'll hear that it's a little bit different these days.
There's this presumption that 7 days is a reasonable time, but in a disaster of this scope, it could be longer. However, the further we move from the disaster and we start to see the return of utilities and the availability of supplies and materials, we may be getting to the point where, okay, again, it's a judgment call, but reasonable time has expired, and maybe
Right.
tenants should start to exercise their remedies to require repairs.
Yeah, and that requirement is contacting your landlord, interestingly, in some sort of certified mail. We were saying, oh, well, couldn't you just do email with a read receipt? Surely that gives you a digital signature that they have received and opened the mail. And the attorneys we spoke to said, you actually want to take it one step further, which is kind of strange when you consider that the notice to vacate that your landlord can give to you simply has to just be posted on your door. There's no, it's not certified. There's no receipt. It says, I'm posting this. You've got 7 days to get out. And that's that. One of the other topics that came up is this idea of unlivability. I'm going to try and pop up some photos here to see where they land. Oh, perfect. These are images that we are very familiar with at this point. The water-soaked sheetrock, right? The wet pink or other colored insulation that people are seeing, the water dripping through, the ceilings. And we asked on behalf of this particular viewer, okay, is this an uninhabitable space? You can see that the floors are down to the bare concrete. It looks like maybe there used to be carpet, because you can see the tackless is running around the edges where that carpet would be secured down. There is no ceiling whatsoever. And interestingly, the attorneys that we spoke with said it's actually habitable. Sure, there's no ceiling, and that's not great, but there's nothing that precludes you from living there. I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, I got to say, I don't think that's getting my money's worth when it comes.
No, I mean, it's a little iffy. But I was watching the interview that you did with them online, and I like the point that one of the lawyers made, that you can go to a judge and kind of get a declaration about whether it's inhabitable or not, right? Like you kind of get that official, response, right?
Well, and I think that the thing that people need to keep in mind, and we discussed this in the interview, is look, at the end of the day, the apartment community wants to keep their occupancy rate up, and you need a place to live. So you really both have the same goal here. So I think that there's always an opportunity for kind negotiation to say, listen, okay, I'll stay. There's no carpet, there's no ceiling. Can you give me a 10% break or a 20% break or whatever it is? Now, if your space is deemed uninhabitable, you do have the right to give a 7-day notice of termination to your landlord. And here's what you will get in return. First, a prorated portion of your rent. So if the rent was due on the 1st, you give notice on the 3rd, you're out by the 10th, you will get back the rent that you paid for the 10th, through the end of the month. You will also be given your security deposit back in full. And it's important to remember that you also have to keep up your end of the bargain, right? All your stuff has to be out of there. You got to give them the keys back. Just this idea of like, well, I don't want to live there anymore right now, but I might come back, so I'm going to leave some of my stuff in here. Doesn't work. Once you terminate, that's it. You're out, and it's time to go. The other thing that I will say, the question we got a lot from our viewers was, well, wait a second, I thought with COVID, you can't throw me out anymore. We had a guy who contacted us and said, okay, the building is in a bit of shambles, but my unit is okay. I mean, sure, we had some water on the floor, but I cleaned it up with some towels and now it's just fine. And I don't want to move. I don't want to pay for movers. I don't want to go through the hassle of finding an apartment and hoping I get a good rate and all of that other kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it seems that it is much easier for the apartment owner, the building owner, to declare a space uninhabitable than it is for the tenant to do so. And the argument that the apartment group made and was ultimately granted was, your space may be livable, but in order for us to fix the rest of this building, we can't guarantee that we won't shut off your water, that we won't cut through your ceiling, that we won't have to come through your apartment to access the insides of the walls and stuff, to find out, where everything is. So I guess the advice here is, enter into that kind negotiation. Now, as for how COVID falls into play here, the moratorium on evictions through the end of March, I believe it is, is only for non-payment. It has nothing to do with all of this other stuff that's happening right now. So if your landlord is coming to you and saying, get out because you didn't pay, that's one thing, right? And something that's protected for now. If they're coming to you and saying, get out because it's uninhabitable, well, then that's something that you actually have to do. And at the end of the day, the only person who can actually evict you is a judge. And if you feel like the eviction process has been started and somehow unfairly, then you are encouraged to contact, legal aid. And I know for so many people, I'm sure you get this too, our viewers, you start talking to them about lawyers and they cha-ching, 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 they get so scared about I'm not familiar with that. I don't know how to send a certified letter. I can't afford a lawyer. Legal aid is there to help you, and I would encourage that for a lot of folks. And again, with specific reference to COVID, they may post your eviction and start the process, but it's the removal of you from the property that is protected through at least the end of the month.
Yeah, and again, just let me ask you too, because I saw when you had that discussion with the lawyers last night, what kind of amount of time should someone reasonably be given? Because we heard about, I think you mentioned a case where someone got a notice, you got to be out in 3 days. That seems a little quick. Yeah,
it was 4, which may as well have been 2, because you've got to find some place to live, and what do you do? So the advice that she gave was, okay, really kind of pare down the sticking points here. And in that case, the sticking point was the time, right? So you can go to the landlord and say, generally 7 days is customary, right? Because again, you got to get all your stuff. First of all, as you were saying, you've got to be in the apartment long enough and leave it how it is long enough to document everything that FEMA needs, right? Or your insurance needs. So you can't start moving out and then say, oh, by the way, I used to live in this place and give me some money for it if you can't document. So to your point, document first before we start kind of anything here. But I think a customary 7 days is reasonable. Now, just like the customary amount of time to make a repair has been extended, I also think it's not unreasonable to say, look, the customary amount of time to find a new apartment should also be extended, because if in fact we have hundreds of people who have been displaced who are now suddenly all looking for a new apartment, when now inventory is less because buildings have been damaged, it might take me a little while longer to kind of get there. So
yeah, I think that's key, is keeping those discussions open right now. Everybody is just trying to get through this. And if you're openly talking with your landlord, that's the best way to negotiate any of these situations.
100%. I've been a landlord before, and the best tenants are those who are upfront with me. Let me know what you need from me so that I can figure out how to help you, and then how to kind of make everybody come out whole in the end. We're just about out of time here, but I want to thank folks for tuning in for our consumer catch up here today. Heather, for folks who might want to follow you, where can we find you on social media or online?
Sure. So our website is fox26houston.com. My Facebook page, where I put most of my consumer information, is Heather Sullivan, Fox26. I also have an Instagram and a Twitter page as well. So yeah, please give me a follow. I'm always trying to push out information to try and help people. Anything I report on goes there. So if you didn't catch it, you'll find the links and things like that there.
Can I find the cat on your Instagram too?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's where he lives. Yeah.
Awesome. And for those of you who don't already do so, you can check me out at fox4news.com and primarily on Facebook, facebook.com/SaveMeSteve, and Instagram is @SteveNoviola. Heather, so nice to get to finally connect with you. I hope we get to meet again real soon.
Yeah, I hope so. It's great to talk with you. Great to talk with all of our viewers.
Take care.